the well that broke the neighborhood. It's easy to think peace is a permanent guest when life hums along quietly. My name is Walter Hayes, and I live on the ridge of Cedar Crest, a quiet stretch just outside city limits in Oregon. By trade, I'm a water systems engineer, but around here, folks know me as the guy with the house above the mist and a private well that's never run dry in 15 years. What most don't realize and some refuse to believe is that their morning coffee and evening showers depend on water flowing from my land. Years ago, Cedar Crest was just a patchwork of dirt roads and independent souls who like things simple. My property came with an old, corroded pipe snaking downhill from my well, a relic from the 1960s. It was barely working when I bought the place 12 years ago. I replaced it with a modern system, reinforced it against erosion, and added a control valve in my garage. I even extended the line to a handful of homes lower down, where the city's water mains never reached. Did I have to? No. But those folks were older, kind, and struggling when their cisterns dried up. They offered to pay. I waved it off. The pipeline stayed mine designed, installed, and maintained from my pocket. I made it clear I'd never let it fall under anyone else's control. For years, nobody challenged that. Then came Vivian Caldwell, 54, always clutching a notepad, her voice like a knife cutting through small talk. She moved to 3 houses down and brought with her the Cedar Crest Homeowners Association. Despite its lofty name, the HOA was less about community and more about her need to rule. She crowned herself president nobody quite knows how and launched a mission to organize the neighborhood. Her first visit to my place started with a fake smile and ended with a veiled threat. She wanted to inspect my water system, claiming the HOA needed to ensure compliance with community standards. I explained my land wasn't part of her HOA, showed her my deed, permits, and easement records all listing me as the sole owner. I told her how my water reached 6 homes and how I'd kept it running alone for over a decade. Her smile faded. She muttered about shared resources and oversight. I politely declined. That's when the letters started. The first claimed I was violating HOA protocols. The second accused me of unauthorized utility management. One even hinted at environmental risks. All were stamped with the HOA's logo, but none held legal weight. Then came the whispers. Neighbors who once nodded hello now avoided me. One older woman, Clara, confided that Vivian had told everyone not to thank me for the water Anna Maria. It was their right, not my gift. Another neighbor said Vivian called me a water tyrant, hoarding control. I laughed it off, but the air felt heavier. Something was brewing. I'm not one for paranoia. Engineering trains you to trust logic over fear, but logic doesn't ignore footprints in the mud near a locked valve box that hasn't been touched in months. It happened after a storm, when I was checking the system. The grass around the concrete vault was flattened, like someone had stood there for a while. The padlock was scratched, as if picked at. I didn't call the sheriff yet. Instead, I bought a weatherproof motion-activated camera, hid it in a tree, and wired it to a cloud backup. If trouble was coming, I'd see it first. A week later, a letter arrived on official-looking stationery, titled Environmental Violation, Unregulated Water Use. It was signed by the HOA's environmental chair, Vivian, in another hat. She'd sent it certified, styled to mimic a state agency. It was fake but clever. I scanned it, added it to my files, and kept quiet. She was testing me, and I wasn't about to blink. That weekend, I had to drive to Salem for a 3-day job on a city water project. I locked everything, set the camera to double record, and left. When I got back Monday night, the silence hit me first. My driveway sloped sharply, and I usually hear the faint hum of the pressure regulators. This time, nothing. I turned on the kitchen tap, 0 pressure. In the garage, the valve box was shut, but the access door had been pried open and forced back to look untouched. Inside, the stench of wet cement hit me. My pipe was cut, the inlet clogged with rough concrete, still damp. A cheap funnel lay discarded nearby. This wasn't an accident. Someone had planned it. Before I could process it, my phone rang. Walter, it's Ellen from Maple Drive. Our water's out. You too. Then another call. And another. Neighbors from the lower ridge, some elderly, some with medical needs, were frantic. One, Harold, needed water for his kidney dialysis. They thought I'd shut them off. Then I heard shouting outside. A crowd had gathered at the base of my drive, maybe 15 people, with Vivian in the center, megaphone in hand, her red jacket impossible to miss. This was deliberate, she bellowed. Mr. Hayes is holding our water hostage after refusing safety inspections. We won't be intimidated. I wanted to shout back that it was my pipe, my work, my sacrifice, keeping their homes running. Instead, I opened my laptop and pulled up the camera footage. At 1:17 a.m. on Sunday, two figures appeared. One was Vivian, unmistakable in her sharp posture and oversized flashlight. The other, a stocky man in an HOA jacket, carried a cement bag. They pried open the valve box, sawed the pipe, and poured cement through the funnel. It was slow, deliberate. They sealed the cover and left, Vivian scanning for witnesses. My hand shook. This wasn't a prank, it was sabotage. I called Ellen, Harold, and a few others I trusted, asking them to see the footage. Within an hour, 6 neighbors stood in my living room, watching in silence. Harold spoke first. "That's Vivian. What the hell is she doing?" The video answered for me. By morning, it had spread to the neighborhood's online group. Vivian claimed it was edited, but nobody bought it. The man with her was identified as HOA groundskeeper Tony, wearing his logo jacket. I called the sheriff, handed over the footage, and showed them the damage. The cement was still wet, the tool marks clear. They traced the cement to a local hardware store, purchased on the HOA's account, signed by Vivian. The Oregon Department of Health showed up next, tipped off by a neighbor. The inspector, Diane, went pale when I confirmed the pipe fed 6 homes, including vulnerable residents. "This is a public health violation," she said, making calls on the spot. Tampering with a private water line, even outside city limits, broke state and federal laws, including the Safe Drinking Water Act. Things escalated fast. Tony, the groundskeeper, turned himself in the next day. He admitted Vivian ordered the sabotage, claiming the pipe was illegal and needed to be reclaimed. He'd hesitated but feared losing his job. The local paper ran a headline, "HOA president accused of sabotaging neighborhood water." A still from the footage showed Vivian mid-pour, flashlight in hand. Neighbors who'd shunned me sent pies and apologies. The HOA's Facebook page went silent. I didn't wait for the law to fix everything. I hired a trenching crew to dig up the pipe's lower stretch, all 250 feet to the HOA's boundary. It was a messy scar down the ridge, but I wanted it gone. I installed a steel gate at my driveway with cameras and a sign, "Private property. Trespassers prosecuted." I cut off the lower home's access, not out of spite, but liability. My lawyer agreed. Then I sued Vivian and the HOA for property damage, defamation, health endangerment, and emotional distress. We submitted every permit, photo, and maintenance bill, plus Tony's statement and Vivian's fake letters. In court, Vivian looked deflated, her sharp suits traded for a plain dress. My attorney, Margaret, was relentless. She played the footage, showed the permits, and presented the cement purchase records. Tony testified that Vivian called it her duty to control the water. I took the stand, explaining how I'd built the system to help, only to be painted as a villain. Vivian's lawyer tried to spin it, asking if I felt responsible for cutting off the neighborhood. "I feel responsible for trusting them too long," I said. The room went quiet. The judge didn't hesitate. Vivian was convicted of vandalism, criminal mischief, utility sabotage, and defamation. She got 5 years in prison, with parole possible after 3. The HOA was ordered to pay me $400,000 for damages and distress. The courtroom stayed silent as Vivian was led away, her husband staring blankly from the back. The HOA dissolved, its charter revoked, its reputation a local joke. A month later, a package arrived. Inside was a mug with Waterkeeper printed on it and a note. "We didn't deserve your help, but thank you." No signature. I use that mug daily, sipping coffee while looking down the ridge. The scars are gone, the water flows, and I'm at peace. I held the line, and I'd do it again. What do you think about this story? Have you ever faced injustice or abuse of power in your community? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about standing up to bullying and where you draw the line. Your voice matters.